All right, welcome. We are just about to go live with Miracles, Magic, and Coffee. So we're just about to go live with Miracles, Magic, and Coffee. We're going to send over the email link to everybody that's on our email list about that. So look for that in just a minute. Let me just send this.
Got it.
Copy that. And here we go.
I'm going to say hi to people in just a moment, but I'll come back.
And then we're going to go here. Yeah, I think we're good. Click for the show. Yeah, one more. Here we go. All this tech stuff. I'm so glad I have the software I have because I don't need a tech guy to do all this stuff, even though I'm not very tech savvy. So, okay, so that should be good. And we are good to go. And you guys should be getting an email any second now. All right. So we're going to have Tom Giammatteo on. We had him on last week, and we've had him on before. And I'm super excited to get this for you, another level of it. Let's see, what am I doing here? Oh yeah, let me make sure he has this. He should be on in about 10 or 15 minutes. So last week, I'll share my screen and get a couple of things up that he sent me. And I think you'll like seeing this because there's some self-care to that you can work on yourself to improve your immune system. And whether you're dealing with Lyme disease or anything else, let's see, any other physical condition, any other chronic or mysterious condition, any other autoimmune condition. So let me share this while he's going to be on in a few minutes. Okay, here we go. Jen is over there. She'll be with us in a little bit. So this is something that I use myself, different versions of this pretty much every day. And it's there's Baden. It's a self-treatment method. And you don't even need, I'm having like, yeah, baby, you go hang out. So it's a self-treatment thing where you can put one hand on one part of your body and another hand on another part of your body, and you leave it there for 20 minutes without letting go. And it's kind of like acupuncture, where you put the needles in and it sends some flow of energy between acupuncture points. It's kind of like that. So you don't have to know anything about it. You just have to know where to put your hands and how to help yourself by leaving them there for 20 minutes. And so these are the places over here on the left where you put your hands, but you don't have to even know what they are. Like, where's the thymus, the heart, we kind of know where it is, the liver, the spleen, the bladder, the sigmoid colon. But all you got to do is put a hand on one spot and put a hand on another spot, or put a hand here and put a hand here, or one here or here, or you could go A to B, or B to C, or C to E, or number 1 to D. The way he has it set up here is you have one hand on number 1, and the other hand goes 20 minutes on A, 20 minutes on B, 20 minutes on C, 20 minutes on E, and 20 minutes on D. So even if you don't have that much time, you could do one, like in one night, this one hand here, and then the next one hand here, 20 minutes. Next night, one hand here. And the thymus gland right here, just under the collarbone area, is all about the immune system. And this will help shift it. Here's another one that describes it as well. So these are really cool ways to work on the immune system, even if you don't know how to do it or what to do. You just start to do that. So I'm going to head over to YouTube and take a look because I want to see. There's Jen. I want to see if anybody's commenting or how you guys are doing over there.
That also reminded me that we used to do NFP parties, and this was super fun and powerful. And we would, have 5 or 6 people over to our house for an evening, and everyone would have their turn on the table for 20 or 30 minutes. And then they'd have all the hands, and the synergistic effect was super powerful. So if someone had, it was just good health maintenance, but also if someone had something more serious going on, that was super, super useful too. But and it was a fun evening because everyone had their turn on the table, and we kept the talk light since we had our hands on each other, and it was just a good community builder with our friends.
Yeah, so this is a really good way to do this. That's a good point. And what you could do is to test for yourself, like walk around, see how you feel, move your arms and legs. And then if you have a group of people, it's a good way to watch a TV show.
Yeah.
You lay one person on the treatment table, a massage table. Everybody else gets to watch a little video for 20 minutes or 30 minutes, or just hang out and visit. And one person has a hand, say, on number 1 and A, and another person has a hand on number B and C, and another person has a hand on number E and D. Maybe the person laying on the table has their hand here, or like this hand here, and then somebody else has a hand like maybe here and here. Somebody else sitting on this side of the table has a hand here and here. And you stay there for 20 minutes. And then if you were to retest, like walk around, see how you feel, see how you move, you'd be way different. And you'd be healthier and happier over time of doing these things. So if you have a family member that has a big problem or has some kind of health issue, especially an immune system issue, Lyme disease, you could, if there's 3 people, one person is the one getting treatment is on the table, and then one person is on 1 and B, they're sitting over here. One person is on A and C and they're sitting over here, and one person is on E and D and they're sitting over here.
Table, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe the person on the table is go E and D, and then another person on this side of the table is on A and C, and another person over here is on 1 and B, and you stay there for 20 minutes. Or if you have an hour-long hangout time, you do it for an hour or 2 hours. Somebody's really dealing with a big immune system problem, you could do this every day for an hour and change their life. So it's really powerful. It's way bigger and more powerful than you would think. So that is super useful and super simple. So let's see, Tom should be getting on any minute. If you have any questions for Tom, you could leave them in the YouTube. Last week, what we talked about, we wanted to do this one on Lyme disease, because I see so many people coming in with that diagnosis, and they've seen so many different doctors and practitioners, and some of them have been on antibiotics for many, many years. And yet when I talk to so many of them, they're not doing very well. And you find out how long they've been on this course of treatment to get over autoimmune disease, especially Lyme's, and they're no better. Some of them are much, 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 much worse. And so one of our tests, Tom and I have, and Jen, is that when somebody comes in an hour later with the session, they should be different. You should be able to test how their shoulder moves and how their neck moves, and they should be different. And then if you're getting to the primary area, the primary thing their body's protecting them from, the next week they come in, they should be even better yet, because their body's starting to heal, even though you haven't been getting treatment for the week. But then they come in for the next week, and you take away more of the things the body's protecting them from, and you check after the hour, and they should be better. So that our test is that the retest should be better right away, not like later, not like with promises, not like, well, we got to get through all this die off and then we're going to be better. It's like, no, you should be better with the session. Like your shoulder should move better, your back should move better, you should feel lighter, you should feel different, happier, something. I remember once I was working on a client, and consistently, whenever we worked on her liver, she just started smiling and laughing. She felt so much better. And over time, a significant physical condition went away, and she got a lot of shifts in her life. So that's one of our tests. And what we think about with this method, this integrative manual therapy that Dr. Tom has taught me and worked with me, it looks like we might be, he's not here yet. I don't think, no. Is that there's a couple of ways to look at the body when you think of healing. And one is you see something that's wrong, like Lyme disease, like some sort of bacteria or spirochete or some kind of thing that some people would look at and say, well, we got to kill that. And the other way is, and you would use a drug or a supplement or some sort of detox, I suppose. This integrative manual therapy way that I feel is more in line with true healing, how a body heals naturally, is that there's this idea that we have the host, which is the person, and we have the disease process, which is like, the virus or the bacteria, the Lyme disease pathogen. What we do, we don't say we heal anybody, But what we can do is help the person's body get healthier. And when the person's bodies get healthier, then their body naturally heals. And it's kind of like getting a stream that's polluted and not doing well. First, you quit putting the pollution in, and you take away all the things that are not doing well around the stream, and you come back later, and it's functioning well on its own. And so with that idea, I forgot where I was going to go. Oh, so the idea with that is that one thing that we test is structure. And what that means is how, what's the space like in the body and how is it moving? So if somebody, for example, has a lot of restrictions in their rib cage, and Tom talked about this in depth last time, and things aren't moving in their rib cage, and their lungs don't get to expand and contract and let air into all the parts of the lung, then some parts of the lung aren't getting a lot of in and outflow, like air coming in, air going out, blood coming in, blood coming out, nerve impulses coming in, nerve impulses coming out, energy and information coming in, energy flowing through. It doesn't have that if it's all constricted. And so our job as integrative manual therapists and as people that can help people with their healing is to change the structure so the rib cage moves. And when the rib cage moves, the lungs move. And when the lungs expand and then relax, air can come in, and blood can come in, and waste products can leave, and food can come in. And when that happens, then the person's body can naturally heal. So it's also kind of like if somebody has a cut, and so I'm going through a lot of stuff, but basically reviewing what Tom said last time, and we'll go into some really cool stuff that he's going to have for us today. But the other part is, like, if you have a cut and it naturally just heals, you know? The problem is when it doesn't heal, what's going on? Now you might think, well, we have to stitch it up. But if you stitch it up and it still doesn't heal, you might think, well, what's going on? If it's dirty, maybe we got to unstitch it up, clean it, and then stitch it up, and now it can heal. If it's still not healing up, maybe there's a blood sugar problem and the person has a diabetes issue. And we have to help them get their diet under control and change the things around diabetes so that now they can heal. Or if they have a raging infection, maybe we have to get rid of the infection. Or at least get them healthier so they can handle the infection and now they can heal the cut. So a person there might be 5 people that come in with a cut and they're not healing. One of them is healing, maybe 4 of them aren't. All the people that come in might have a different reason that they're not healing. And so our job as therapists is to find out what's in the way of somebody's healing, and structure is what we look at. Like, how is it moving? How is the flow in? How is the flow out? And when we can get that restored, then people can heal. So let's see if Tom is on yet. Still not on. He should be. We told him 1:15 East Coast time. So let me just head over to YouTube and see if anybody has any questions.
That also made me think of, the whole analogy, environment versus like trying to wipe out a pathogen. There was historically Pasteur and Beauchamp were contemporaries, and they had those two conflicting views. And Pasteur was for wiping out the pathogen, and Beauchamp was for making the environment, the host, stronger so that it could handle things. And even in that, it wasn't like you wanted to take out all the bad bacteria when we talk about gut health. You actually want some potentially pathogenic bacteria in there, like I think they say about 15%, because that keeps the other 85 beneficial bacteria on their game and learning. And there's this balance to things. And I was actually thinking about balance the other night, but I had this theme when I was like, why did I make all these certain choices in my life? And it was about balance for me. I didn't realize it at the time, but looking back, I'm like, oh, I was always craving balance. And so you can think of, like, in Yellowstone, when they took out the wolves, it created an imbalance. Like, people were like, oh, these wolves are bad because they're a predator and all that stuff. But then what it did is it made a population of, I think, elk. They became dominant and they didn't have a predator. And so there wasn't balance. And that negatively affected a lot of the ecosystems in Yellowstone. When they reintroduced the wolves, it balanced things out again because the wolves kept the elk population under control. They weren't trampling the small trees down by the river. And then the river was thriving and other animals were thriving. Like the whole ecosystem functioned better when there was some balance there. And so instead of just focusing on one thing that you think is bad, you know, having that bigger picture perspective of all things are interwoven and if all things affect each other and everything has a purpose. I don't know, it kind of made me think of that.
Yeah, and also Alan Watts, the great philosopher, said if we went inside a body, we'll get Tom on in just a second. If we went inside a body and looked, we'd see a big battle going on, you know, like the good bacteria, the bad bacteria, all the antibodies, antigens, all this stuff trying to do things. And if we stayed there long enough, we would probably take sides, like, you know, root for one side. But of course, in a body, that would be devastating to like kill off all the other side. So it's kind of an interesting way to think about the body. Let's go to Tom. I think we're good, except we don't see him yet. I see.
Hi, guys.
Panelist or anything?
I don't think so.
Let's see.
Here's Tom.
Can you hear me?
I think
Ralph?
him.
Kind of like acupuncture. Oh, wait, wait. Put the needles in and it sends some flow of energy. Let's see. Can you hear us now, Tom?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We can't see you. I wonder if I should.
Okay, I'm looking for my cameras.
I think we put him as panelist last time. Sounded more.
It should work either way, but let's just see. Dun, dun, dun.
Sounded promising.
Okay, here we go. Let's see a little body.
Ask to start video. Okay, here goes.
Oh, so asking to start a video. Okay.
There we are. Okay, hey Tom.
Hey. How are you guys?
Good,
Happy
good.
holidays.
We've been telling, kind of reviewing what you went over last time, and then telling them about NFP and how they can do it by themselves or with a little group, and how it helps a lot. And if they have somebody dealing with a big condition, like a family member having 3 people or 2 people plus the family member, you could get all those spots in 20 minutes, or do it for an hour, or do it every day and make a big difference.
Right. So NFP, neurofascial processing, is probably one of our best gifts to the world of healing. And it goes along with a book called The Body Wisdom Book by my wife, Sharon Giammatteo. And we've had so many miracles just with that one tool out of the whole concepts of integrative manual therapy. It's very empowering. And the book actually has, in the back last chapter of the book, is 40 different types of therapies you do for headaches, low back pain, stress, and there's a sequence for each one of those.
That's awesome. I do that every day because it's easy enough just to do it on yourself when you go to sleep at night. And if you wake up a little early, just do it 20 minutes before you go to bed. And or if you're watching a movie or something.
And it's good cell phone recovery system that your hands are doing something, so you don't have to look for your cell phone.
That's good.
You know, when we're sitting trying to be quiet, it really helps you stay quiet, actually.
That's a great way. I'm going to start to add that in with our peace process. That's a great way to do it. You've got 20 minutes where you have undivided time with yourself.
Yeah. So the system of neurofascial processing correlates to 6,000-year-old medicine of acupressure and acupuncture. So we did a lot of research, and when Sharon was on her journey, she was seeing these spots that she couldn't correlate to, like an acupuncture chart or to Louise Hay's work, You Can Heal Your Life. So we termed it neurofascial processing, but they also do the benefits of acupuncture. And so there's a little note, like when you're putting your hand on your liver, it's actually helping for a detoxification process. When you put your hand on the thymus, it really supports the immune system. Okay.
That's great. It also, one of the ones I used so much for so many years was the bridge of the nose to the low back to drain what we call limbic energy or rage energy.
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember Sharon started her book was very interesting because she talked about some very abusive patterns in her beginning life. And so, yeah, anything else you want to say about NFP, neurofascial process, about
Well, I feel that the bridge of the nose is a very significant area, and many other sources talk about it being your third eye, your center of your limbic system, your perception of consciousness. So they find that people who are enlightened, this space between the eye and the nose opens up a little bit, and that's a form of enlightenment type of area. So our limbic system is our primitive brain, and it sees everything in pictures. So it's there to help protect us or to help us find joy. And sometimes it gets stuck down, so everything looks like a tiger.
Wow.
Right.
We're doing some of our cranial work to physically open up the space in that area would help with that too then.
Yeah, the body work is really significant in doing that also. You know, in India, they put the little dot in the center of the forehead, and that's a passageway into that center of the brain. It really helps, I call it, calm down the gerbils sometimes.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. What are you, that's cool. So we could go into that too. Like when you think of
Yep.
Lyme disease or autoimmune, I know last time you talked about how, you know, you give a bigger picture that even though somebody has a specific diagnosis, we're looking at structure and function and opening up spaces and allowing blood in and out and nerves in
Yep.
and out and all that. And now we're talking about like even all these different organ systems that connecting them up for the energy of the meridians and all that. And then the consciousness piece, or, you know, opening up the part that that affects rage or joy. Yeah, I thought today we might let you go anywhere you want to go, like whatever you feel drawn to like talk about with Lyme disease, but knowing that anything that you talk about with Lyme is also useful for any other autoimmune condition, or maybe can you talk about like how, you know, what it could be useful for most people, I would think, with a title of Lyme disease on this talk would be thinking about that, but other conditions, and then anywhere you want to go with this.
Sure. Well, I caught your last 5 minutes of you bringing in how we need to look at the big picture of items. And, you know, what may look good or bad may be different depending on which side of the mirror we're looking at. So Lyme disease is starting to be more known. And like we talked about last time, half the Western medicine doctors in the United States don't even recognize it as a phenomenon yet. And the CDC recognizes it as a syndrome, not even a disease at this point. But if we really look at the word disease, it's about not being of ease, right? It's not feeling well, not thinking well. So yes, we can look at the mechanics of it, that I have this bug called brucellosis in our system, and that happens to be the word Lyme, and it's overtaken my system and now causing me either joint pain or fatigue or slow digestion. And what we've been talking about, Ralph, is how do we figure out where those symptoms come from? Because there are multiple different types of symptoms of Lyme disease. There's people that just have joint pain and they can function. There are people that just have memory loss with it. And some people can have a higher test than other people and don't present themselves as having any disabilities. So I kind of like the philosophy of an old osteopath. And the traditional osteopaths used to say, you get 1,000 extra bonus points. And when you use all those up, then you start to feel disease, not of ease. And what the approach of integrated manual therapy is figuring out, okay, what broke and how did we lose something, and how do we retain that back again? It's trying to find some of the causes of the problem, and also what's keeping us off balance.
So
Now, a lot of things, yeah.
You know, yeah, getting us health. I kind of think of it like here's a level of where you get symptoms, and here's you have all your bonus points. But if you're right up here, then a little something will give you symptoms. But if you can be down here, a little something, and that doesn't give you any symptoms.
Yes. So we can quote a lot of studies that saying, you know, people that have used antibiotics have a more tendency to having other diseases later on in their life. So
Hmm.
what was the causality that allowed the Lyme disease to get even more irritating in the system?
That's,
You know, we've had many to talk, and I'd like to reiterate, another mentor of mine named Jeffrey Bland, he's the father of functional medicine, says we can change our body by 70% by the food we eat.
that's
Okay.
what we found.
And 70% of our genetics can actually be presented or represent by the food we eat. You know, we take very good care of our pets. We take really good care of our cars. And if you could afford a Mercedes or a Porsche and it says high test, most of those owners aren't going and putting low test gas. And they're paying 50 cents a gallon. So that's, you know, hundreds of dollars over the years. But we would go have a Dorito or a Diet Coke instead of like having spring water or having a fresh vegetable in our life, and not thinking it's a consequence of today or yesterday.
Yeah, you know, Charlotte Gerson, we were lucky enough to have lunch with her. She was in San Diego, and her dad, Max Gerson, had that whole system to help people heal with diet. And he said that they had this big lunch, and that's what they gave their whole staff every day of all this nutritious food. And they called it their health assurance plan. They didn't give
Right.
insurance, but they had a health assurance plan. That was
Yes. And there is a very special movie about a Japanese sushi chef that was a wonderful cook, and his ultimate goal was to make the perfect piece of sushi, like a little piece of fish on a perfect piece of rice. And one of the lines that captured me in there was, "You have to eat good food to understand good food."
I like it. Do you remember the name of it? I'll look for it. I'll look for it.
Yeah. But it was this whole, he was like 80 years old and actually trying to get to the best perfection of a simple piece of sushi. And the energy we cook with and the energy that we have around, and we're actually having a community evening on surviving the holidays with health here tonight at 6:30 in my office. And I work with a wonderful health coach that is actually from Moldova, which is next to Ukraine. And
Wow.
she really believes that we're running away from our food. And she's a wonderful fermentation coach at the same time. But even in the practices of Ayurvedic medicine from India, it's about the person even preparing your food as much as the person eating the food and where you're buying the food.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've both been involved in feeling our food for more than just the substantial ability of feeling energies behind it and with it at the same time. So even prepping your food and having like a detective show about murder on it's putting even bad energy.
Yeah. Or the news. Yeah. Jen and I love going. One of our favorite things is going to the co-op or to the farmer's market and getting our food and then making our food. And yeah, I was one of my friends actually works in the food industry, and the stress that they're under and is like incredible with the packaged food industry.
Yeah.
So yeah, what is that doing? Wow.
So if we're thinking of our body as a Porsche and we all need high test fuel, what do we do to ourselves every time we have a piece of a piece of candy or a pre-packaged food with a list of words that we can't even pronounce on the backside of it?
Yeah. Wow. And
so I like to go green, which means, you know, eat lots of vegetables and, you know, something that you have to make yourself and enjoy. And the next step would be, you know, we have found with our research over the last 40 to 50 years that there are some foods that are neurotoxins out there. And, you know, the IMT rule is the top 4 for us is anything that has a gluten flavor to it. So step 1 is take out gluten oats, wheat, rye, and barley. And I feel that even if you went paleo and you took out all starchy foods, it'd even be the next step better for you. And then anything with white sugar on it, any sugars. So I tell people that if I was to place a glass of 8 ounces of maple syrup on the table and ask you to drink it in 2 minutes, you probably have to throw it back up again.
Yeah.
But if we had a country time lemonade with NutraSweet in it and anything like that, we can pound that down, or a Coca-Cola. Our body doesn't have the wisdom to take out all the artificial flavors from our body. It doesn't know when it's bad for us.
So maple syrup, good, because you're not going to eat too much of it and it's natural.
Yeah.
Honey,
Maple syrup, honey, and fruit juices are my go-to.
Cool. What is coconut sugar? How does that line up for you?
It used to be much better, and now the processing is getting, I like, if it looks like a nice dark brown coconut sugar, that's okay sometimes.
Okay. That's cool to know.
But anything else that, there are some studies out there that say those aren't made of fructose. White sugar is made of sucralose and glucose. When you get into the fructose sugar, it actually trains your brain to be slightly different. And Dr. Perlmutter, who wrote sorry for a second, I lost you here, but Dr. Perlmutter, who wrote the Grain Brain book and is a figurehead for functional medicine, brought up that the foods that have a high fructose content are really sweet and they really have a high glycemic index. So things like apples, watermelon are on that list.
Oh, interesting.
And if you look at when the growing season is, fructose comes into our diet in the late summer and early fall. And it's actually like, it could be acting like a hormone saying we should get ready for winter and store our fats more.
Oh,
but when we're having high corn fructose syrup or fruit juices during the winter time or during the springtime, our bodies are getting confused.
so apple juice maybe not so good.
Not every single day. You should eat it. You should have apple juice when apple season is. You shouldn't have
That's good. Yeah,
oranges when orange season is. And,
we're all about apples in Washington State. We'll
right.
keep an eye out for that. So cool. Well, that's really taken us to an interesting place where people can have a lot of self-care with the NFP, that one hand here, one hand there homework, and then
Yep.
the food. And tonight it's at 6:30 at your office in West Hartford.
Yep.
What's the do they just call you or do they just show up?
We're not as technically as sophisticated as you are, so we haven't even started recording these objects. But next year, that's our goal, is to actually have them videotape community.
Okay, cool. But if somebody is in town,
somebody's in town, and we're on 12 Northwest Main, 12 North Main Street, West Hartford, Connecticut.
North Main Street, West Hartford. Okay, cool.
And in the IMT Wellness Center. And we do them every second Wednesday of the month. We have Olga and I split the session, and we talk about healthy foods, and we usually make some things. So we're having pumpkin soup and roasted cauliflower tonight. And I make a yogurt from our probiotics, and it's whole milk and half, so it's really rich in omega-3s. And I also made some nice cranberry relish.
Yeah, man, you're only 6 hours away from us by the plane. You're yeah, I know
and
that.
the last two pieces that I think are very neurotoxic, one of them is the peanut allergies.
Mm-hmm.
And the fourth one is almonds, which have really invaginated our state of food and society nowadays.
We've been talking about that for years, and they're in so many health type snacks and things.
Yeah.
Is mostly the fungus, or what is it? Talked
So
about.
there was a blight in 2001 that came to the United States that almost devastated every single almond in the United States. And it was a type of salmonella that's in the fungus around the almonds. So President Bush Jr. actually put in law by 2007 that every almond sold in the United States, retail, even in your organic health food stores, has to be pasteurized in some form. Either they're getting radiated or steamed or chemically cleaned. They could be raw. They can say organic on them, because if you steam something, it's still organic. But now you have a dead fungus or allergen still sitting there that we're ingesting.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, that's
And
another.
we've even found that some people need to even eliminate it from all their body wear products. They use a lot of amaretto coloring and almond oil for makeups and things like that. And when somebody starts to really take that on themselves to get out of their life, they actually see how much more sensitive they are to even those products at the same time.
Yeah, I know when I was off of gluten, one of the last things I figured out was my hair product. And when I took it out, I didn't like the way my hair looked as much, but I felt better. And then when I put it back on, my eyes got all puffy and a little more brain fog, just with because they had some oats in them or gluten or something.
Well, maybe I have to send you a bottle for Christmas, but we've been manufacturing a special castor soap where we get the tools from England, which is made from organic sunflower and coconut oil. And it's really rich and earthy. And I use it full body. I use it as my shampoo and my body soap. And you don't really need conditioner. And it's very moisturizing to the skin. It also forms a detox process. It helps detox the body.
Man,
so we have it. Yep. And most people know Dr. Brahman's castor soap with the peppermint oil and all those things. I don't want to be cocky, but I would say our quality is the richness of it is about 10 times more rich than that product.
And I'll get the information for people, or if you want to just just kind of tell us where to get that, just so everybody has it.
If you go to my IMTWellnessCenter.com, they can look up there's a talk about some of the supplements we carry there.
Great, awesome. Okay, and then I know you've been here for a bit, so thank you for your time, and we're here with you as long as you want. But
okay. So let's just summarize for back to Lyme's again. So, when I came in, you and Jen were talking about the big picture and seeing that we have to have a little bit of everything in our life. And I agree that Lyme's is one of those things that the normal healthy person wouldn't get unless they were slightly weakened in a condition. So how do we rebuild the body? Two things are, I gave you the neurofascial processing, and I'd love to hear feedback if your friends and family can do that. And taking 10 minutes a spot and at least doing one spot a day and possibly doing the whole hour's worth of therapy each day, we've had some miracles on bringing the energy up in the body. Second is stop poisoning yourself with bad food. Start eating, make your food, make it green, and then make sure you avoid the 4 topics that we had: the gluten, the sugar, the almonds, and the peanuts. And if you did that and you weren't looking for a pill to kill something, I feel that that's 30% of a change that clients really, really get better with.
Yeah, maybe more if they do a lot of the home one hand here, one hand there homework.
Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting because I started off this one. We continued on from last week about even though you might have a diagnosis of Lyme's, we're looking at how can we improve your health and structure so that your body can heal naturally, so that there's flow in and out. And now we've taken it to another level of the nutrition, and that it's so accessible. All of this is so accessible, meaning they can do one hand here, one hand there, and they can start to get some changes in diet and actually reverse Lyme, because Lyme seems to be thought of like some big mysterious condition, and you need a really high level practitioner with amazing skills, and there's all this ways of trying to kill it and detox it, and you're talking about things just that seem so simple.
Yes. Well, I feel that you have the same experience, is that when somebody presents with a Lyme as their piece, that it's a starting point of saying, how do we make sure we get it to go? A lot of alternative health care practitioners want to kill it. And I'm saying that you're weak before you even got it. And if you try to kill it before you're healthy, then you're going to hurt yourself more. Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of these doctors that are hitting you with 3 to 6 years worth of antibiotics, when you didn't fix the house before you started, is really going to make you worse at the long piece of it.
And so we'll go into it next week too, as long as you can keep coming in, and thanks for your time so much, because I want to talk about like patterns that you've seen, but that's a whole nother thing of like different versions that you've seen of how this person healed or that person heals without divulging personal information. But I've had some other question. So we're going to go into the more complex, like the people that are dealing with really severe things that are maybe closer to the end of their rope. And what would you tell somebody that, or what are your thoughts about somebody that's been through it, the medical systems or the alternative medical systems, but they're really in a tough spot with this Lyme and the fatigue and not being able to eat or keep food down and all sorts of conditions. One would definitely be to see you, to see me, these different IMT practitioners around the country and the world, and to start to do some self-care and if there's a way to start changing their diet, if they're even eating food. I know some that weren't eating much food. It was like an NG tube kind of situation. But what would you tell, like you might want to foreshadow maybe where we're going with some of those more complex things, or people that have been in the system, but they're really not doing well. And they hear that like, yeah, put one hand here, one hand there, and change your diet. And we need them to do that. It would be so good for them to do that. But they're like, it's so simple. What do I do now? I mean, they got to come see you. They got to come see me. You got to find a practitioner that can do things to them. But anything else you want to tell people that are dealing with a really severe case?
I'd like to say, reach out to us and set up an individual phone conference, and we can hear their story and help them figure out where they need to be. Because everybody's had, when they're down to only eating one food a day, there's a bigger picture on how to help them get better. And I feel that we offer, with integrated manual therapy and yourself, offer a different viewpoint, that half of it could be chemistry, or we can do with medicine. The other half of it may be that you've been structurally out of alignment for a while, and we may have to do some body work. And other times you have to meet the person where they are. And some people are, it gives them brain fog, and if you haven't found it, let's do some more talking with some IMT practitioners, so we still may have some hope for them, and we don't give up, right?
Yeah.
We really work the person through those questions. And I can understand, that may be their own first issue, but if it was just a Lyme disease and antibiotics were supposed to fix it, then they should have been cured, right? Or resolved to that. So there's something missing, something big time missing.
Yeah, just meet with you, meet with me, find an IMT practitioner, and they can talk to you over the phone. They can talk to me over the phone.
Yep.
And we could hopefully find the things that their body is dealing with that, if solved, then could let them heal, and they could start doing these self-care things to start with. But
so we've done these for over 30 years, and that homework that I shared with you to pass on to everybody today, try it for 2 weeks straight and can commit 30 minutes a day to it. And I would say 70 to 80% of people will have some change of health and well-being with it, the positive side.
That's why I do it every day. I'm going to share my screen, and so these are the spots. So basically, I walked them through, but do you want to say anything about like how to do this? You said 10 minutes, but I used to think it was like about 20 minutes per spot. But yeah, I want to walk them.
Well, so if the directions on the bottom are very specific. So you're going to take your hand and see the number 1 spot, which is between your neck and your collarbones. And you connect it to the heart, like you're saying the Pledge of Allegiance. And it says there 15 to 30 minutes would be the ideal connection. Okay. Eventually, you're going to get so sensitive, you can actually feel how much energy is going between your hands while you're doing that. And then if that's all you can do that day or that time, it's then move on to the number B, and then C, and then D, and then E, and just keep repeating this pattern. So give yourself 15 minutes at least once a day, but ideally this is like an hour and 15-minute therapy. So if you're watching TV, it's very easy to do. You know, none of these points should ever cause you more pain or discomfort to hold. So wake yourself up with pillows and be comfortable while you do it. And there's descriptions on, you know, the heart's about circulation, the liver's about detoxification, the spleen's about the immune system, the bladder's about drainage, the sigmoid colon's about taking toxins. After you move them, how do you poop them out? So we have to have the sigmoid colon actually being able to go there. So, I mean, you can do a detox diet, but if you're not pooping every day, it's going to sit in your body and make it more toxic at the same time.
That's awesome. So one hand goes on number 1 and the other hand goes on A, or one hand goes on number 1, the other hand goes on B, or 1 and then C, 1 and then
and like you said, if you have a partner, if you got an extra set of 2 hands, you could do A, B, and C together and then move down to the next. And with 3 people, you can get this whole thing done in 15 minutes instead of an hour and a half. And everybody, so 3 people at 45 minutes, has everybody healed. That would take an individual 3.5 hours to do. So,
and it's also more, it's kind of interesting because the way I understood it was when you do it all at once, it's so much more powerful than if you did it all by yourself and did all the spots. Because while 1 and A is connected, 1 and B is connected, 1 and C is connected, 1 and E, but also
absolutely
E are connected, C and E are connected, A and C are connected. So you're getting this whole exponential effect. If you have a serious condition and you've got family members that would like to do this and help you, spending, you know, 1 TV show or 1 video or just 1 20-minute hangout time and doing this together, I encourage them to test how they feel before and after even the session, that 1 20-minute session, and notice what.
In our office here, Ralph, we have a group of volunteers that would come in, and when we're doing a full neurofascial processing treatment session, it takes 7 individuals, and it's about for 1 hour would equal 45 hours of body work by themselves.
And it's incredible. We did those parties for ourselves in San Diego with a group of friends and clients, and every week we would meet, and we saw miracles with that.
Yep.
So,
it's the community, it's the connectiveness, it's all those things added up that make us even more powerful.
Awesome. Yeah. So this is going to be cool. I mean, if people that are dealing with any condition or just want to get healthier in general, do these diet things, and I'll put them in the email and on the description in the comments, getting off of gluten. If you want to get off of even more starches, that's great. Getting off of white sugar, getting off of almonds and peanuts, and then doing some of this homework every day. It'd be really cool for people to report in and let us know how it's going.
Yeah, we can have a discussion on how they feel.
Yeah. Very
So I'm excited to see you next week.
Thank you. I really appreciate this. So great.
Okay.
So thanks a lot, Tom. And we'll see you next week, and have a great dinner tonight.
Okay. Talk to you guys later then.
Talk to
Bye.
you later.